Senator Alex Padilla, I have questions for the secretary, because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your heads off.
How many of our ICE agents have been doxxed for doing their duty? How they have been.
They cry out in pain as they strike you, quite literally, by the way, in this case, because we got to give you a breaking news update here on the situation over at the Department of Homeland Security, because this stands as yet another example of Democrat politicians essentially trying to either gain attention or resist Donald Trump. I don't know, somehow recover their absolutely abysmal 20% approval rating by engaging in these really stupid theatrical forms of protest that, as usual, I ask, what is this supposed to prove? And more importantly here, how exactly does this make the Democrat Party look good? I'm not exactly sure. I would argue in this case, once again, as we so often see, whether that was the Doge protesting or Chris Van Hollen in El Salvador, Cory Booker giving the 24-hour speech, many other forums here, these people just look like clowns, idiots, okay? To the extent that it's political grandstanding, it just seems fundamentally unserious. But on top of that, it's almost comical, okay? These people continue to make a laughing stock out of themselves. But nonetheless, we got to give you again here, guys, the situation out of DHS today, as apparently California Democrat Senator Alex Padilla, this is a guy with a long track record in Democrat politics. Before this, he served as the Secretary of State, overseeing many questionable, some would say, election laws that are currently in place in the state of California. And he apparently thought it would be a good idea to storm into Kristi Noem's press conference while she was speaking and start screaming. And then, obviously, as the Alex Padilla here, I should say, he is removed by the law enforcement in security, because yeah, you stormed into a private press conference, you're being disruptive, you're shouting her down while she's talking. What do you expect? He cries victim. He then starts like shoving with the law enforcement, like, get your hands off me. I have a First Amendment right to protest the press conference. And now, guys, in response to this, right? In response to a very, I would argue, benign and basic case of F around and find out, in the sense that, yeah, you go into a press conference, you disrupt the thing, they kick you out, you're shoving them, so they push you out of there, right? They are saying, guys, that this is authoritarianism, okay? Like, kid you not, Gavin Newsom, the Democrats are saying authoritarianism and dictatorship is apparently when you get kicked out of a press conference for being disruptive, as if Alex Padilla was not purposely trying to trigger this. But I once again will say, okay, I understand the strategy here. I think this is exactly what they want to happen, because they want to be able to call Donald Trump an authoritarian and all this, guys. But here's the problem with these types of like bait style, I guess you would say, methods is, as you so often see in the modern world, when there's camera phones, when there's videos where you can actually see the context and it's all over the internet. Again here, guys, I'm not exactly sure that argument is so convincing, because the average person, guys, as you'll see here in a second, is going to watch this video and say, okay, what exactly did you expect to happen, Alex Padilla? But nonetheless, we'll get into it again, guys. Democrat senator here forcibly removed from a DHS press conference by Trump administration officials and security. We'll tell you about it. First, though, folks, do us a big favor. If you enjoy the content, make sure you hit that like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. You subscribing, guys, is the best way to support our videos and also ensure that you can stay up to date with all of this coverage. And with that said, so we'll show you this video from a number of different angles. But again, today, Kristi Noem doing a press conference here, and here is what Democrat California Senator Alex Padilla tried to do and is apparently so shocked after the inevitable happened to him. Here's two different angles of that.
I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the secretary, because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your
I also want to
heads off.
how many of our ICE agents have been doxxed for doing their duty, how they have been targeted, detained.
Guys, ready? And sir, hands up.
Also,
I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the secretary, because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your
I also want to
hands off.
specifically how many of our ICE agents have been doxxed for doing their duty, how they have been targeted.
On the ground. On the ground. Hands behind your back. Hands behind your back.
If you let me get on my hands, go ahead, put them behind my back.
All right. Cool. One hand. Lay flat. Lay flat.
Other hand, sir. Other hand.
There's no recording allowed out here.
I did not know.
There's no recording allowed out here per FBI regs for the building.
So what, I'm sorry?
There's no recording allowed out here.
That's my boss. I have to
There's no
record
recording
everything
allowed out
for
here. You can record. There's no recording allowed out here.
I'm not a member
There's
of the
no
press.
recording allowed.
I understand that, sir, but
So, okay, let's start from the top first of all, okay? Before we get into him being handcuffed, now by my understanding, he was not actually like arrested in the sense he was sent to a jail. He was detained because, as you can see, they try to get him to leave and like he's shoving, right? He's being resistant. He's a big guy, by the way. But okay, let's start from the top. So, number one, the idea somehow that as this Democrat senator, again, you going in and shouting down, disrupting the press conference was going to be a good look for you. You know, like, oh, look at the Democrats, guys. We're these like rude, loud, disruptive people who are annoying and grandstanding and all this. I don't understand what that was supposed to prove to begin with. But on top of that, right, the optics of this guy, I think the video, honestly, where he's getting like pushed out is kind of ridiculous because, you know, this guy, Alex Padilla, clearly is a very tall guy, looks to be like 6 foot something, definitely. And these little security guards who are like half, like a whole foot or so shorter than him are just like pushing him back, you know, like he just looks really stupid. I have to say, like the whole thing, right, again, does not look good for him, nor does it look good just optically speaking for the Democrat Party, because there you have, right, the DHS secretary is speaking. She's like in charge. You just look like a little, you know, annoying little bee, just like buzzing, like just trying to, you know, just cause problems essentially, right? So that's number one here. But also number two, you know, so first of all, they're trying to get you to leave, okay? Because protesting happens, you refuse to do it, right? You're pushing back with these guys and all this stuff, and then it's like, oh, you know. So to that I ask, right? You know, then now they're crying authoritarianism because the guy again here got handcuffed. All right, by my understanding here, look at that image. Look at that image of the reporting. He did not actually get arrested, but yeah, like you're. By the way, let's keep in mind you're not at some random area or something. You're at a DHS press conference. Okay, you're dealing with FBI officials, federal law enforcement, all that stuff. You're shoving with them. You're like freaking refusing, you're resisting. And so in response to that, in response to first the fact that you were being disruptive, obviously, and secondly, the fact that when they asked you to leave, you wouldn't do it. You're freaking like shoving them and stuff. Okay, so they detained you because you're a big guy and you're clearly out of control here, okay? Doesn't matter. Who cares that he's a Democrat senator here? The guy is unhinged. I mean, look at him. I mean, look at this video, guys. Here's actually another angle of that, apparently.
Senator Alex Padilla, I have questions for the secretary, because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your hands off.
Get your hands off me. You have no right to touch me, but I have the right to disrupt the press conference. Again, guys, what did he expect? What did he expect? You know, it's one thing, okay, do your little protest, leave civil disobedience. But typically, even when you see at Trump rallies and stuff, they don't actually resist the law enforcement. You're freaking shoving with them. And again, you're a big guy. So I once again ask the question, what exactly did he expect to happen, right? So as I said, just looks really stupid in this whole thing. But you can clearly see here, by the way, guys, the response to it all, right? California Governor Gavin Newsom is saying, if they can handcuff a U.S. senator for asking a question, imagine what they will do to you. Of course, that's all he was doing, right? He was asking a question. Of course, he definitely waited for his turn to be called, for the actual questions to be happening, number one. And number two, he definitely was not freaking shoving back with the law enforcement, right? Definitely wasn't resist. No, that's all he was doing, guys. He was just asking a question. He wasn't disrupting a press conference, then refusing to leave, then pushing back with the feds while he was, you know, being asked to leave, right? No, all he did is ask a question, guys. Imagine what they would do to you, right? As you can see. Yeah, definitely. This is authoritarianism. This is authoritarianism because, as you all know, we have the constitutional right to disrupt press conferences. To that, I will say, I'm not sure. Very curious what Gavin Newsom and Democrat politicians would do if some right-wing agitator tried to protest their own press conferences. I'm not sure. Maybe there's a video of that somewhere. I'd love to see that, okay? Because I guarantee you, yeah, if you disrupt someone's speech, generally speaking, left or right, you kind of get kicked out. I mean, sure, there's some cases, I guess, where, you know, Democrats are so soft, they just let the agitators take over the events, but it's generally not something that is done, right? Nonetheless, here, as you can see, a California senator was quickly rushed away by Homeland Security from Secretary Kristi Noem here after he barged into her press conference addressing the LA anti-ICE riots after loudly speaking over Noem, right? You know, it's just, interrupting here. Alex Padilla was pushed out of the room by authorities as they ordered him to put his hands up. The incident happened shortly after Noem said the Department of Homeland Security is staying to liberate the city from the socialist and burdensome leadership that this governor and this mayor have placed on this country and what they have tried to insert into the city. Noem did not skip a beat, continuing to address without any reaction to the disruption. I mean, that's certainly, oh, sorry, screen was over here. I mean, that's certainly, powerful, I guess, right? I guess that's how you handle it. I don't know. Gavin Newsom here took to X to comment on Padilla's outburst, placing blame on the Trump administration for his temporary detainment. Yeah, I wonder why you would get temporarily detained for that, guys. Senator Alex Padilla is one of the most decent people I know, Newsom wrote in a post, quote, "This is outrageous, dictatorial, and shameful. Trump and his shock troops are out of control. This must end now, guys." Okay, look at these. It's a dictatorship, guys. This is dictatorial because when you disrupt a press conference, you get kicked out of the press conference. Dictatorship! No! We should be allowed to scream at whoever we want. A dictatorship, right? So that's number one here. Number two, apparently, right, it's also dictatorial that when you shove law enforcement, when you resist you're not resisting arrest, you're just resisting being kicked out, being asked to leave. Yeah, they handcuff you. Yeah, they detain you. And then what do? They didn't even arrest this guy, by the way, guys. I want to make that clear, right? Maybe they will down the line. I don't know. But in this case, they didn't arrest him. All they did was say, get out of the building. As you can clearly see, he was uncooperative. He didn't want to leave. He's causing all these problems. So what do? They restrain him because he's a big guy who's acting like a lunatic. Okay? What? It's not, this is dictatorship, guys. Less than 24 hours prior to the incident, Padilla was pulled out of the congressional baseball game in Washington, D.C. to fly home because of the riots. He was slated to start at first base. Well, now he is apparently the first base of acting like a complete idiot on camera. Now, with that said, right, it's worth noting here, many people are mocking Alex Padilla for a number of reasons, and I think there's plenty to mock there. But first and foremost, I want to make it clear here to everyone that Alex Padilla is, of course, the same individual here who cried foul about being arrested, to remember his own words, right? After Alex Padilla is the same guy who said infamously, nobody's above the law. And by the way, I have to venture to guess, if he was not a sitting U.S. senator, again here, nobody's above the law. You have to imagine a random guy breaks into DHS, the federal enforcement like that. Probably a lot worse would happen to him. But take a listen and casually remind Alex Padilla, this is what he stands for.
We rise today to defend the principles at the core of our democratic republic, that we are a government of laws and institutions, not of individuals, that no billionaire has more rights than any worker, and that no president has more rights than any citizen of our country, that we are a government of three co-equal branches, providing checks and balances on each other. And bottom line, that no one is above the law.
No one is above the law, Alex Padilla. Remember that? Yeah. Turns out, right, if you resist law enforcement trying to ask you to leave and you refuse to leave, yeah, generally speaking, that's not the best idea. Okay, first and foremost. Secondly here, right? Others have noted that Democrat Senator Alex Padilla has, of course, said the vast majority of LA rioters were, quote, peaceful and passionate. Of course, saying, right, mostly peaceful protests and all that. However, watching that video, maybe now we understand what Alex Padilla means by being peaceful and passionate. Because apparently, according to him, that's peaceful, right? That's totally peaceful, loving, fun, lawful, all of that, what he did. Yeah, I guess, right? When you consider that's a Democrat standard of peace, maybe it's not all that surprising where they get this slanted narrative of the rioting happening in Los Angeles from. Just saying.
The vast majority of protesters and demonstrators are peaceful. They're passionate. When you come into a community like Los Angeles, the way that the Trump administration has, you need to expect to be countered with people who are passionate about defending fundamental rights, about standing up for due process.
That's all they are. That's passionate. Okay, they're just passionate. And the Trump administration should expect it. Yeah, you should expect that when you remove violent criminals on arrest warrants from people's communities, the other violent criminals are going to burn down the city. And that's justified, guys. That's peaceful and passionate. Yeah, 100%. Now, as you could probably expect, okay, after what we just watched, which I will once again say is like pretty normal, okay? Like, again, this is dictatorship. How could you allow this to, what? It goes without saying, it shouldn't be surprising, but MSNBC and many other left-wing outlets are having a complete meltdown about this. Take a listen here for yourself. This is incredible, okay, right? Like I said, this is authoritarianism. This is dictatorship. How dare you handcuff a sitting senator? Because, of course, right? Even the concept, guys, of ever arresting political opponents, arresting politicians, that's so unprecedented in America. I can't imagine anyone who might have done that before, right? But nonetheless, okay, take a listen. Here's MSNBC's reaction to Alex Padilla's idiotic and laughable grandstanding.
These very officials claim to also be opposed to, Christina.
And Lisa, I want to go back to you really quickly because we've also seen Democratic lawmakers trying to walk that exact line we were just talking about with David. I hear you have more information on that video we played of Senator Padilla at this Kristi Noem event. There's reporting now that he was, in fact, arrested outside the room.
It appears that he was arrested outside the room, Christina. I am now in possession of video that was taken from a different angle of this same incident. The video you showed earlier shows Senator Padilla being escorted out of the room and quickly ends thereafter. The video that I have seen shows that what happens when he goes into that hallway, he is further pushed into the hallway by somebody wearing an FBI shirt. He is then pushed onto the ground and placed under arrest with his hands behind his back as he is face down on the floor by 3 additional officers. Obviously, we don't have full information about the altercation that led him to be pushed out of the room by personnel either from the Department of Homeland Security or the FBI. But this is yet another escalation between the Department of Homeland Security and those agents working at their disposal and lawmakers. Obviously, LaMonica McIver, a congresswoman from New Jersey, has now been indicted on 3 federal charges for which she could face up to 18 years in prison in an altercation that started not dissimilarly from this. You know, one of the things I was looking for is whether or not Senator Padilla himself put his hands back on those who were involved in that altercation with him, as LaMonica McIver is alleged to have done. And you can see from the video you're showing right now somewhat that Senator Padilla is pushing back or has his hands on the officer. From the video that I have seen, it's much clearer. At some point, he then stops resisting, puts his hands up, and nonetheless, they push him down the hallway, put him face down, his hands behind his back. He's arrested. I don't know yet what has going to come of this and where Senator Padilla has been taken. But this is a big escalation of what has been happening in California. Senator Padilla, as David was mentioning earlier, is a son of California. He grew up in Pacoima in Los Angeles' San Fernando Valley, where I'm also from. Pacoima is a heavily Latino community. Senator Padilla, born to immigrants. He himself is the pride of much of the Latino community in the Los Angeles area. To see him manhandled in this way, like a common everyday protester, is going to be particularly jarring for many who are watching from.
Guys, it's jarring. He's the pride of California. As you see on this, that's the pride of Latinos in California right there, apparently. Not sure that's something you want to claim as that, but okay. Nonetheless, so, you know, this is what you're hearing and saying. Hey, MSNBC, I have a radical idea here, guys. Whether it's Alex Padilla or LaMonica McIver, have you tried, like, not shoving the police when they're trying to push you back? I mean, is that a radical idea, right? Have you tried not doing that, right? This is another escalation of things you're seeing. Okay, don't freaking storm into the press conference and shout down the situation, and then they're shoving you and all this stuff, and then you're shoving them back. Get your hands off me. Maybe don't do that. Maybe don't do that. I don't know. Just you know, crazy thought here. As you can see, though, the Department of Homeland Security has now put out a statement about this, saying Senator Padilla chose disrespectful political theater and interrupted a live press conference, yes, but apparently also without identifying himself or having his Senate security pin on as he lunged toward Secretary Noem, which is on camera, by the way. Mr. Padilla was told repeatedly to back away and did not comply with officers' repeated commands. That's not made up. We saw that on the video, okay? You know, shouldn't be surprising. We saw that happen, right? You guys saw it, okay? So, anyways, did not comply with the officer's repeated commands there. Secret Service thought he was an attacker and officers acted appropriately. Yes, I concur, by the way, okay? Here's what's hilarious about it, though, despite all of the grandstanding about the authoritarianism. Oh, he was just asking a question. Yeah, well, guess what? You know where he could have asked the question? In a private conversation, because apparently Secretary Noem met with Senator Padilla after and held a 15-minute meeting. That's what dictatorship looks like, guys. Dictatorship, authoritarianism, you know? Cam here, by the way, this guy is right to point it out. Yeah, any citizen who did this would get the same treatment. He doesn't get a special treatment because he's a senator. Nobody's above the law. No, I like to point out, by the way, a normal citizen who did this probably faces, let's say, worse consequences than just being pushed to the ground, temporarily detained, not booked or charged on anything, and obviously not arrested. Although, I mean, we'll see what happens, you know, going forward. I don't know, right? You can make a pretty strong case. What he did was not exactly lawful. But yeah, as you can see here, so Democrat senators are just having a complete meltdown. Chris Murphy, for instance, says, this is a U.S. senator being violently removed from a public briefing. Many are reaching out to Senator Padilla right now, and there are facts we need to gather. This is a very, very serious moment. Again, have you tried not disrupting the press conference? Have you tried like not just standing in there and while they're talking, just screaming? That's my constitutional right. Okay, let me ask all these senators, by the way, then, okay? So if you're giving a speech on the Senate floor, Mr. Chris Murphy or Alex Padilla or any of these people, and some right-wing protester comes in and just starts shouting, okay? You're trying to speak, they can't do it, they're on the Senate floor, and they're just like, screw you, you suck, all this stuff. Would you call the Senate sergeant at arms a authoritarian for removing that person, or is that common sense? Yeah, you're disrupting a speech. They have the right to the floor. You can't be disruptive. You can't stand there and just shout stuff, and yeah, you're going to be removed by security. Same thing for your political rallies, by the way. Of course, that's not the case. That's not the case because they know that what he was doing here ultimately was ridiculous grandstanding, and basically there you have it. Nonetheless, as you can see here, by the way, Senator Chuck Schumer also melting down about the situation, saying similar rhetoric about how this is a authoritarian takeover, guys, apparently, for people to be held accountable for their actions. Authoritarianism. Take a listen.
Without objection. Mr. President, I just saw something that sickened my stomach. The manhandling of a United States senator. We need immediate answers to what the hell went on. I yield the floor.
This is manhandling, guys. Manhandling of a U.S. senator. I wonder why that happened, okay? Being manhandled, by the way, as I said, by guys who are like half his height. And I wonder why they were doing that. I wonder why they... Oh, look at this right here. Oh, why, guys? Why did people get rough with him, huh? Look at this. He's like, he literally said, get your hands off me. Oh yeah, totally peaceful, guys. This peaceful U.S. senator, he's doing nothing wrong. Why did this happen to me? As I said, they cry out in pain as they strike you, okay? Look at this. Civil disobedience. No, I'm totally peaceful. This is, I said, you know, by the way, Democrats, right? This is peaceful protest. This is what it looks like. He's being manhandled, guys. Again, you're being manhandled by a guy. Look how much shorter the security officer is. So, you know, he's been in the gym for sure. But okay. All right, with that said, though, guys, let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comment section down below. Again, Democrat Senator Alex Padilla makes a complete fool out of himself. Let me know. Be sure to leave a like on this video. Subscribe if you are new. And until next time, God bless and peace.